Hey, thanks for clicking on this video where I'm going to be talking about this little adapter by Techart. This is an adapter that lets you open up autofocus capability on old manual focus lenses. I had no idea how well they worked, so I thought I'd make this video. I know what you're thinking. What, have you been living under a rock or something? And that's not the case. I actually had heard about these things a while back. I just didn't know that they were available for so many lens mounts, that they were actually quite so functional. I thought that they were bulky from what I had seen, and I assumed they were pretty slow, and that they're expensive anyway, which is the case, and it's natural that they'd be expensive because it's quite a feat to be able to do that. But yeah, I thought I would share my experience because I recently got to try one. This is the TZM-02, which lets you use Leica M mount lenses on the Nikon Z mount. I don't actually have a Nikon Z camera, but if you watch my main channel, Pushing Film, you know I have experience with it. I did a review back when it launched a few months ago, and I recently have been working on another video reviewing some Leica M mount lenses because I never got to try M mount lenses on the Nikon ZF. I didn't have the adapter at the time. And I had the opportunity recently to review a couple of lenses by a new company called Autofocus. They make a couple of lenses called the Samara 28mm and the 35mm. So I'm doing a review of the 28mm mainly on the Nikon ZF. So I had to borrow another ZF from Nikon Australia. They were nice enough to let me borrow another one. And the company Autofocus said, I told them I don't have an adapter though. They said, that's okay, we'll send you an adapter to borrow. We'll send you the Techart adapter. At the time, I didn't think anything about it. The name Techart just sounded like an adapter brand. So when I received it, and I actually mounted the Autofocus lens to the adapter and then to the Nikon ZF, I had accidentally pressed the autofocus and saw the lens move and the camera autofocus. And for a moment, I was like, wait, what? Is the lens autofocus? And then I realized, Techart, these are the guys who make the autofocus adapters. So I was really amazed. And then I was pointing it around the studio, just trying to lock focus, and it was working at all distances immediately. I even focused on my hand, and I was like pretty dumbfounded, to be honest with you. So yeah, I got to use it throughout my time borrowing the ZF, which I've now had to send back, and try out that AF capability. I even tried my Zeiss Sonar 51.5, a beautiful 50mm lens. I took it to a portrait session and used it completely in autofocus, got plenty of really nice results. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about that in this video and just kind of share some of the limitations and tell you who I think this is for, if you should buy it or not, and what to expect. So first of all, these things are not cheap. It costs $399 US. So here in Australia, I would assume it's 500 plus. I've seen the Sony versions go for about $529 here at DigiDirect. And yeah, like they have this big protruding motor sort of bit at the bottom. But the beauty of this newer generation of adapters from Techart, apparently, from what I've read online, is that they are slimmer, they're more compact, they look pretty much like a normal adapter, it's just heavier. You'll notice it's a lot heavier. And the newer generation focuses faster. The AF, in a nutshell, is really snappy in general. Now, there are limitations. It's not going to be as fast as the AF that's in a native AF lens, but man, you'd be surprised. If anything, it kind of reminds me of, late 90s or early 2000s AF that was in cameras, like film cameras that had, medium format point and shoots or other cameras like that, where the lens would move back and forth to focus, because that's how these work. So yeah, the way that these adapters work is by moving the entire lens back and forth. So once it's on your camera, the lens will move back and forth within the adapter. So just that movement is what creates that autofocus capability. And it's really that simple. And like I said, it's actually pretty reliable. I was using it initially on this Autofocus lens because I was doing the review on it. But the one thing worth noting is that with these Autofocus lenses in particular, these have a floating element. And I'm not sure if that's why, but I did find that the AF wasn't working 100% of the time, not even maybe 95, probably between 90 and 95% of the time. Other times it would just get stuck hunting. So yeah, it was probably, it really depended on the situations. In some situations, it might have gotten stuck hunting, 20% of the time with those Autofocus lenses. But I believe from what they've told me is that because of the floating element, the compatibility with the Techart AF adapter isn't as good. So then I went ahead and tried it with the Zeiss lens that I have, with a couple of lenses, but then I took this Zeiss Sonar 50 on the ZF with me to a portrait session, a family shoot, and got plenty of great photos and left it in AF on that camera, used it alongside another camera as a second. But to be honest, I ended up using the ZF more because I love the rendering from this Sonar lens. And this is an f1.5 that is known to have a focus shift when using it with a rangefinder. So having a reliable autofocus with it, the ability to shoot it wide open or even just f1.7, 1.8, whatever the next stop is, created some beautiful images. And it was, doing eye tracking because, as you may know from the Nikon ZF capability, it can track the eye even with a manual focus lens, as long as you have that chip on the adapter, which the Techart adapter does have. It has the electronic contact. So if you have that, on the ZF, you open up the eye tracking, you open up the focus confirmation. I talk about that in my video on the Pushing Film channel. But yeah, I was really impressed. I took it to that portrait session and got plenty of usable shots, and it was locking into the eye and following it. It wasn't 100% accurate, but it wasn't doing the hunting. If anything, maybe it would just miss focus a little bit. But when you're shooting at f1.5 on a 50mm, you can expect that. So if anything, it gave me similar performance to, let's say, a Sigma Art 51.4 on my Canon, maybe a little bit lower accuracy than that, but I was getting 9 out of 10 shots in focus or just off the eye if I was using eye detect. So that's pretty damn impressive to me. Just thought I'd put that out there. So who should consider one of these things? I think for something this expensive, if you're going to drop $399 US, the good thing is you can probably resell it and get most of your money back because it's kind of a niche item that not many people, would just buy impulsively. But if you do want one, I think you should consider it if you're really going to use autofocus a fair bit. If you just want to toy with it and say, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, it works, but your main style is to shoot manual focus, then I don't think you should splash the money. If you're kind of half-half, I'm still not sure, because I think to get the full value for money, you want to be really using AF a fair bit. And if that's you, then awesome. I don't think there's anything else on the market that is this good or that can even do what this adapter does. It's pretty damn amazing when you think about it. So if you're going to use AF a lot of the time and then less of the time switch back to manual focus, this is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's reliable if you're going to take it to shoot something like a wedding, because if the AF is important and missing the shot means it's gone, then no. But if you're doing what I did with that family session, where if you miss focus, you can just take another shot, then absolutely it's worth it. And because there's some amazing Leica M lenses out there that are small and compact and have a beautiful rendering, and they're often cheaper than AF counterparts. And when you can mount them to modern mirrorless cameras like the Nikon Z cameras, or maybe I assume there's Canon and Sony mounts and all kinds of versions of this adapter, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's one condition. And the other condition is, if you do think you're switching back and forth between manual and autofocus, I still think you should have a basic dummy adapter as well, because if you do manual focus, your manual focus lens, but using this adapter, it may give you some hassles because it has to be back at base position. So if you use the AF on the Techart adapter and then you switch back to use manual focus, the lens might still be sticking out a little bit because of the AF functionality. So you need to make sure it's at infinity roughly so that you have the full range of focus when you switch back to manual. It might also affect the focus scale if you care about that, the numbers lining up and matching up to what they are in the actual image. So keep that in mind. Switching back and forth between AF and manual focus a lot may not be the best idea. If you have separate types of photography where you use manual focus, like street photography, and let's say you have a Nikon ZF, just buy a cheap adapter for that. If you're going out on a session or a shoot or walking around and you mainly just want to use autofocus, then get this. But you can still switch back to manual focus and it will work. You just have to consider that extra step to make sure it's back at base position. So it's a pretty cool thing. It came in this little box from Techart. It has like a little cap which has a USB plug on it, so you can do firmware updates, I assume. The build quality is really nice. Again, it's a little bit heavy, but it's not that bad. It's it's what you would expect considering it has motors in it. It's all metal, and yeah, they cost a fair bit. But maybe you can resell it if you ever stop using it, because I'm sure plenty of people would be interested. So that is not mine. That has to go back to Thighpock. It was really fun playing with it. Sorry, I couldn't actually show you the usage on the camera. I don't have the ZF anymore. I had to return that to Nikon because I was borrowing that from them. I don't have any Z mount cameras. I shoot with Canon, and I wouldn't really get one myself for Canon because Leica M lenses don't render very well on Canon sensors, on the R6 especially. They give you that purple fringing, but I had none of that with the Nikon. It was really cool, really fun, especially using that Son R50. I love this lens, and yeah, it wouldn't be worth buying the autofocus adapter for my style of shooting. I'll put a link to their website. You can check out all the different mounts that they have, all the little tips and conditions of buying it, because you have to realize that this is kind of a reverse engineered item. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. They don't even know I'm making this video because, again, Thipoc were the ones who sent me this adapter. I just thought I would share it because to me, it was really cool. It's one of those nerd things that once you actually try out, you think, man, that's a cool bit of tech. And I thought I would talk about it. So yeah, check that out if you want. And if you want to see my video talking about the Samera 28mm with the ZF, and where I share a lot more photos because a lot of them were taken just using manual focus, and I'll put that up on, that should already be out by the time this video is. And if it's not, if you're watching this early, it'll be out very soon if you want to check out that video. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Would you ever consider using one of these things? Have you ever used one? And what do you think of this new form factor where it's literally just a slim adapter with no visible motor on the outside? Is it just me who finds this that amazing? Let me know. But yeah, thanks for joining on another video. I know it's been a while. Yeah, the personal channel, it has taken a bit of a hiatus over the last half of 2023, but now it's January 2024. I'm back. I'm going to try and recommit to posting here a little bit more often, but I have been pretty consistent over on pushing film. Sounds like an excuse, but yeah, I'm trying. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you getting to the end if you're still here, and I'll see you in the next video.